Alright, we're back out in the garage today, and today we're going to hook up the driving lights. So the products we're using today, we're going to use the Traveler driving lights that I got. They put out about 1,000 lumens. We're going to use the solder connectors that I have used in other videos. We just have to use a heat gun to make the connection. We're going to use some 14 gauge primary wire in red. We're going to use the same thing in black for our positive and our ground. And then we're going to use some expandable sleeving, which if you've never seen it before is really pretty cool. And this one supposedly you can heat shrink the ends. So we're going to try that. I'll put a link in the description below for all these products. And we're going to use this to help hold the wires together while we use the heat gun. So it shouldn't be too big of a job. We're going to run a wire out of the fuse box. It's going to come up behind the air cleaner. We're going to run it right down between the OEM fuse box and the air cleaner. It's going to come down. It's going to drop down behind the headlight. We're going to have it's going to split off and come over here, and then we're going to run across and come over here. Should be pretty simple, and I guess we'll get started. So in order to make a harness, what I usually like to do is take the wire on the spool and kind of lay it out rough so that we have a general idea of how long a wire we're using. So we're going to start from here. It's going to loop around. It's going to come down to here. This is where we're going to put our split. It's going to run across to here. I'm going to pull a little extra off just for fudge factor, and we'll go ahead and cut it right here. As far as the grounds go, we've got a little bit of a stub here. Might be a little short. We may have to cut this back, but we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to take the black off the spool here. I'm going to pull off about 2 feet, and we're going to cut it into 2 1-foot pieces. And these will be our grounds. Okay, so we got our 2 ground wires over here, and then we got our primary wire right here. In order to connect this to the fuse panel, all you've got to do is strip this back, and then you back off the screw, slide this in, tighten the screw up. So we don't need to do anything to this end. Alright, so I've kind of measured a rough measurement of the length of the red wire before the split. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut that right now. And then because we know that the split is about 1 foot or so away, I'm going to pull 2 more feet off, and we're going to cut that. So now what we have is, it's kind of hard to see, but it'll all make sense in a second. So we're going to go from the fuse box down to the split. We're going to go from the 1 wire, we're going to go to 2 wires. So we're going to go ahead and get that all soldered up. So we're going to use one of these yellow fittings, because we've got 3 fairly large wires here. Again, not sure if you can see this. So we're going to feed those wires in from this side. And then we'll feed this one in from this side. Alright, so this is what we got going on. So we got the 1 wire that comes in over here. It goes to this splice, and then it goes out with the 2. So we have 1 for the driver's. We have 2 leads, 1 for the driver's light and 1 for the passenger's light. So we're going to go ahead and get the heat gun hooked up, and we'll get that connection made up. Alright, so now we have our harness. Again, one lead, solder joint to 2 leads. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this expandable sheathing. And if you've never used it before, pretty cool stuff. You could just use regular split loom if you'd like. I actually tried this not so long ago, and I kind of like it. It takes a little bit longer to put it on, but it looks better than split loom. So we'll see how we do here. The way you put it on is you have to push it on. There's a little bit of a technique to it. Once you figure out the technique, it's not bad. All right, all the way to the end. So we'll cut this back. We'll cut this right here at the end of the wire. And then I'm going to try for the first time shrinking this on here. Alright, it's not like shrinking heat tube on there, but it does. So there we go. Got a nice little harness made up. All right. All right, so there's our harness. Goes up. We got a passenger side light, driver side light, soldered and taped joint. So this joint will probably last longer than the Jeep. All right, so we've got the wire run. We've got one pigtail coming out on this side. We got another pigtail coming out on this side. Got the wire runs right up, like I said, past the air box, around the back of the air box, and we'll connect it over there. Looks like I gotta clean some of this up a little bit, but that's another day. So yeah. All right, next on the list, we gotta take these plugs and we've got to solder a wire on there for a ground, and then we've got to solder that red wire we just ran to here. So I think I'm going to cut this sheathing back just a little bit more. All right, now we got to go ahead and get these mounted to the bumper. Pretty easy job with some carriage bolts, and the holes are even the right size, so I don't even have to drill those out. All right, that's pretty easy. We'll go ahead and get the light mounted on the passenger side. All right, we got the other side hooked up. I also ran the wire a little neater up through here and around the back of the air box, and I'll tidy this up just a little bit with a wire tie or something. I ran it up into the back of the fuse panel, and I guess we'll go ahead and see how we did. All right, guess we're going to call it good on this project. We got the lights working. I finished making the connections at the battery. I ran that wire, got it all tied up with a zip tie, and I think we're good. The only thing I got to do is finish up the grounds. I didn't have any solder connections for ring terminals, so I got to go get a couple of those. But that's it. Everything's working. Everything's good to go. Auxbeam switch panel sure does make hooking this stuff up pretty easy. So I guess that's it for now. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. And until next time, thanks for watching.